Okay, we're back. This is Techmath1. We're looking at review 3, chapter 5 and 6. And we're looking at the last two problems, the graphing problems. So you graph it. We've got graph y equals 2x plus 19, and then it wanted you to find the window. And so to find a window, you wanted to capture both the x-intercept and the y-intercept, all right? And so we're gonna take a look at the actual graphing calculator. That's why we're not doing this one at the board. So we'll turn on the graphing calculator, and then we'll hit y equals, and now I'll put in 2, and then for x, you use this button, the x, comma, t, comma, theta, comma, n. You hit that, and that'll be x. Oopsie, but I didn't hit that. I hit the finance button. So 2x, and then plus 19. And I'll delete, I had something else in there. All right, then you just hit, after you get it typed in, you can hit enter if you want, and it'll drop down to the y sub 2. So you can put multiple lines in here, but then we just hit graph. And so now there's a picture of our graph, but if you look at that, it's not great because we can't see, we can kind of see where the x-intercept is, but not the y-intercept. So where it crosses the y-axis. So we want both of those. And so that's where you had choices about x-min, x-max, y-min, y-max, and you can kind of put those in to see which one would capture each one. Although I don't think you'd actually even have to put it into your calculator to figure out which one would work best. So look, let me go back and show you what I hit. We'll go back to graph. You can always just hit the graph button and it'll go back to the graph. All right. So if you hit window, the button that says window, that's what I hit. And then you can enter in what you want for mins and maxes. So the one that I chose was letter C on the review. And so we're going to go to make that negative 15 and positive 5. And then you got to skip because it says X scale. Just leave that 1. Then remember when you're putting it in, use the negative button, not the minus button. So negative 5. All right. And then positive 25. All right. And now if we hit the graph button, that changed the window. And now that's a much better window because you can clearly see the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Those are usually the pieces that we're after. All right. So that was for number 20 on review 3 on chapter 5-6. Let's look at 21. That's y equals 2/3 x plus 3. So when you type that in, you could do that a couple of different ways. First of all, if you hit the clear button right here, clear, that'll clear it out. Now, you could do 2x divided by 3, that's fine, or you can go like this, so parenthesis 2 divided by 3, so it looks like 2/3 end parenthesis, and then x. That's another way to put it in, plus 3. Otherwise, do 2x divided by 3, which is also fine. But I don't think you want to do 2 over 3x. I think that'll give you a wrong one if your calculator is this old. All right. Okay, so now we hit graph. And we still have the old window in there. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, if you hit the zoom button, you can go down to number 6. That's zoom standard. That's just a 10 by 10 window. So that's positive 10, negative 10, positive 10, negative 10. So there, we got a real good picture. And now they want us to use the calculator to find this x-intercept. And now if you look through the packets, those are for the older, much older version. It does it a lot better than that. They were like zoom and trace and zoom and trace and zoom and trace until you find it. You don't want to do it that way. That'll take way too long. So let me show you how to, I'll walk you through how to hit. You want it to find this 0, okay? That's on the x-axis. So you hit second, the yellow button, and by hitting that second, what you did is you activated all of the things in yellow on the board, all right? So instead of trace, this button that says trace, it's gonna be calculate. We want calculate. So we hit the yellow button second, and then trace, and so now look on the top, it says calculate. All right, so now we don't want to calculate a value. You could say, hey, I wonder when x is 7, what's y? And you put in 7 and it'll click it right on there and show you what y is. We don't want that. We want a 0. Now, enter, and now look at what it asks. It said left bound. So it wants you to identify where you want the calculator to look for zeros. Because a lot of times this linear graph only has 1 0 right there. But you got to figure if we have a 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 4th degree, there might be multiple zeros. And so it doesn't know which one to look for. So we're going to have to tell it. So we go to the arrow keys, we left arrow and see what's happening. That little dot is moving. And it's a left boundary. It's asking for left bound. So we go where it's clearly below the x-axis. All right, and then you hit enter. And now look at what happened. It popped up a floating arrow right there. It's basically, that's the line that it's going to look for there and over. Now it asks for a right bound, and it's still in the same, the little flashy dot is in the same spot. So now you have to put the right bound above the x-axis, see? Not next to it, above the x-axis. So now, when I hit enter, it popped that up where it said, okay, I'm looking in this interval from here to there. That's what the calculator is looking for. Now it says take a guess. So if you want to play along, you can move the dot to about where you think it is. Like about there is where the 0 is. And then hit enter again. If you just hit enter again, it'll just find the 0 for you. I usually don't do that. I don't move it around. So now let's look. It says negative 4.50. And so that is what it reads out. And so on the key that I made up, I tried to spell that out in words, like the left bound, the right bound, the guess. And then there's the readout, negative 4.5. Okay. So that is the review. One last thing, at the beginning of the review, when I started making the first review video, I said incorrectly that number 16 had a wrong answer on D. It did not. This is the right answer for D, is that. So the relative error, we looked up, this has 3 significant digits for the least amount of accuracy. This one has 3 significant digits. This one also has 3 significant digits, 1, 2, 3, not the 0. That first 0 doesn't count. And so because it was a tie, we had to find the relative error of each one. So you take the decimal of, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 places. You do 4 zeros and then a 5, and then divide it by the original number. That's there. And then hundredths place, so tenths, hundredths, and then you throw a 5 at the thousandths place, and then you divide it by the original number. That's how you find relative error. And that is smaller. Look, this is 0.0005, this is 0.001. So this one is smaller. So this one is more accurate. It's got a lower relative error, but we wanted the least amount of accuracy. So it is that one. It's 0.0310. So I misspoke. I said that on the key, the typed key, it was wrong, but it's right. This is what's on the key. I had an older version of the key which had the wrong number on there. Okay? Awesome. All right.